Hello again, welcome back to Lockdown Licks Part 12. Hello again, my name's Steve Yates, welcome back to Lockdown Licks. This is today's lick. So, it's a blues lick. It is a blues lick around the three chords of the blues as they occur towards the end of the 12-bar sequence, going 5, in this case we're going A again. It is going to be E7 or similar, probably D9, be D7th or D9 normally, and then back to A7th, and then a little turnaround of 5, back to 1 and then to 5. To put all the chords that are potentially in there on a standard blues, and it's a good idea to encourage your bands to do the little 1-4-1 at the end. It makes everything a lot nicer and you can hang a lick around it. So here it is from the beginning, at least roughly. I tend never to play blues licks the same way twice, but this is I think what I played. So we start on our E7 chord. New set of strings. Yes, so each chord is being followed by the lick. It isn't always necessary when you're playing standard blues to do what they call following the changes, but in this case I'm doing that because it's kind of the point of the lick. And yes, it is more than one lick in a lot of respects, but a very important point which I've tried to emphasize in this series so far is that we need to be able to progress through a chord change when we're improvising. So a good policy on the blues is when you've got this chord change is to practice over it as if the one lick takes into account all the chords. And that's what I'm doing here. So I'm starting on or, which is an E lick, and then and that little shift from minor to major third, of course, signals the fact that you've gone back to your root chord. Because the interesting thing about your standard blues thing is you can put a major third over your one chord, or you can put a minor third as well, but you put a major chord over your one chord, but you've got to put a minor third there because it's part of the chord. Otherwise you end up with, which is not the blues. So we rather telegraph in this particular instance what's going on harmonically. So we've got, you know, I'll show you that in more detail, that lick there, because that's actually quite a complicated lick. It's a bit fancy for the blues, but it gives us things to think about. It's a D7th arpeggio. Again, jumping to the 9, which is you probably never do a lot, which is obviously the lick taking us back to E, A, beg your pardon, to root, and then to that major third, which signals the fact that we've gone from there back to there. It is quite a complicated lick. You don't have to do anything like it's complicated to say. You could play the reference, the entire thing like this, for instance. A stripped down version of it, let's say. And it's important to understand that some people might argue that approaching improvising the blues like this could stop you from being truly spontaneous. Oh, you're learning an entirely learned sequence, I hear you say. Well, yes, but it's not the only sequence I know. I thought I would probably be able to paraphrase these licks several dozen times if I needed to. That initial one, you know, I could. Or anything anything that is an E lick can be joined on if we give it the experience of being joined on. So of course you could do this same trick of the 3 chords with one learned sequence over the top, but using a different lick each time, and then just juggling them and jumbling them until pretty much any combination becomes available to you, and that's the point. We want to be able to play any combination of shapes that the ear would suggest. So you think in your mind, oh, I've got this wonderful lick I just want to play. Your fingers need to know it. If they don't, you ain't going to be able to play it. So anyway, moving on. Standard blues lick 37B, I think. Whoops, I'll do that cleaner again. Now here's an interesting point. I hope you all caught that. There's Miss 7th, going to Miss 6th, minor 3rd. Big important point on the blues, never play a plain minor 3rd in your minor pentatonic scale. Don't go. It's a wrong note in the blues, quite literally. The blues does not go. You can hear straight away, it sounds like someone who hadn't been playing the guitar very long. It should be... Think bottleneck. Whoop. And you get the impression. We never play a straight 3rd in the blues. In fact, you like to be able to tweak pretty much every note. So then I ended on that. Heavens. Because obviously the option might be there to play the old dreaded altered dominant. If you were playing with a band that could offer such a lovely chord as that. And so you do actually hear blues players do that, even though the band are playing a straight 7 chord. You'll hear, I believe Hendrix uses that one in Red House, for instance. So anyway, to go over it again. And then you've got all 3 chords of your blues. If you play it like that, you'll be able to go smoothly from one to the other because your hand will have learned it. Do it with a whole bunch more licks, and you'll be able to kind of follow that chord progression without going, oh, I've done my 4 chord lick, now what do I do for my 5 chord lick, or vice versa. You get the point. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Keep practicing.